I don't know many women in the world that don't want the man to make the first move. Okay, all the women can be like, "Oh, I got that power, baby." Blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Okay, but you want a man.
Hey, what up, though? Minivan Musician Season 2, the first one of this season. The visuals all messed up because of the lighting. It was crazy, but it doesn't matter. Nobody's here to look at us
It's
anyway.
just got a little red to it.
Yeah, it's a little blurry, but what we're talking about there is pretty important. It's about how like 85% of the internet is gone, if not more, and how there's a monopoly on the information and the what will be considered the truth. But yeah, I had to put this shirt on for this one, talking trash, because this one's going to be offensive to a lot of people. Matter of fact, a whole generation of people, if not more. We were talking about modern men, or I would say, I don't know what generation you would say this is. We'll say guys between the age of 20 and, I don't know, like 32 or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Early 30s.
Early 30s.
And specifically them, and how they're very far away from what the previous definitions of manhood were, and it's about the modern man and how it could affect the future, and kind of identifying why they are so different. And I'm saying this because something that made it jump out at me is I had to like get into a different field here, and I started meeting guys, in a work environment who are of that age, and it blew me away the way that they are. And I mean, you see a lot of it online too. I've had like even some music fans in that range and stuff, which is crazy, but
Well, and I'm closer to that age.
yeah,
range,
she's closer to
I'm
it.
32, so it's like I know
She's
a
on
lot of them personally.
the outer cusp of this
and
bullshit.
I'm just kind of like, oh God.
Yeah.
You know?
And the first thing that jumped out at me about these younger guys, this generation of men, and I'll say that like we're basically talking about the weakness of that generation of men, and also, how that affects things. Well, we'll just get into it. So, lack of work ethic jumped out at me.
Yeah, just about zero work ethic at all.
Yeah, like, and there's almost no such thing as a guy that age who has pride in maybe the masculine nature of his job. Mm-hmm. If he ends up in what would be considered like a masculine field. And I actually know a couple exceptions to this that are jumping out at me in my head right now. So don't apply to you if you still watch our stuff.
Yeah, there's absolutely exceptions. Not everybody fits in this box,
Joel is one. If he ends up watching this, like, he's an exception. But he had like a male role model in his uncle, blah, blah, blah. So it's a little different. I'm just saying, like, by and large, in this age group, there's a lack of work ethic. There's less pride in a masculine job. If anything, there's a little bit of shame that you have a masculine job, meaning something that's like physical, hard work, stuff like that.
Right.
Not just the old adage of, this guy can't work with his brain, so he has to work with his body type of thing. Not that. It's a little different than that. There's less pride in the actual work, meaning, it's only about the money being the focus.
Yeah.
Like, getting through the day, making X amount of money and pay, that's it. You hardly ever see guys in this age group look at something they just finished and be proud of it.
Yeah.
Like, look what I did with my day. I'm proud of myself as a man that I can do this. I could do this, like, and teach my son. And we'll get into why that isn't a thing here in a minute. This generation of men is less masculine.
Oh, yeah.
Less leaders, stuff like that. And women get the good jobs, was one of the points that I made in here. And
yeah, true to a high degree, yeah.
Partly because of the system. And when I say the good jobs, I mean not the very small percentage of people who get like master's degrees and stuff like that. Not the trade school people. But I'm saying if you follow what you're basically told you're supposed to do now, which is high school, then do like, 4 years of college, that sort of thing. The only thing that's really profitable for people is like the medical field.
Yeah.
And we brought up a couple of other ones that we were talking to. But basically, every guy who struggled to get his own business off the ground or was doing like construction, killing himself doing that or whatever, every chick he met at the bar, every chick he met on the scene, if say he was a music artist,
Nursing student.
all nursing students, all nurses, aides, all direct care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just so happens that those are the available jobs that pay well and have benefits, is basically what I'm saying.
You're right.
Obviously, there's stuff for men that involves trades and stuff like that, but I'm just saying, if you're going to follow that path, do a few years in college and go into a job, most of those jobs are what women are occupying right now.
Yeah, and they will usually be given to women first.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to hear you say that.
It's true, though. You know, it is true.
It is. There's a lot of other fields, too, that we talked about earlier, but, you know, just to get through this, it's like, I'll hold on to them, and
Yeah.
if people want to say in the comments, like, oh, what's another example? I got a bunch of them. The other thing I noticed besides lack of work ethic was an overly laid-back, kind of mindless existence.
Yeah.
Like...
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing that jumped out at me was weed, weed, weed.
Yep.
Every one of these cats gets high to the point where there's nothing matters to them.
Weed and video games.
Yeah.
It's like, can we, like, not do that so much as a lifestyle past high school?
Right.
You know? It's pretty crazy that it is, like, so prevalent. You know, and like I could sit here and be like, well, I don't have a problem with people who smoke weed. It's, you know, that's a whole other thing. But when it's, you know, that's all that you do, and you can sit there and say, oh, well, it doesn't affect what I do, I will tell you 100% that you are a fucking liar.
Yeah.
Because it definitely does. I mean, man, come on. Like you said, you know, this mind-numbing existence where everything is like overly laid back, like, oh, it's not gonna be fine.
Everything's just whatever.
Know, it's cool, you know, I'll get there. It's cool, da da da. It's
and
like,
being that way is glorified by people because it's like stress free, like
yeah,
why get upset about anything?
Why are you worrying so much, man?
Why are you so uptight?
You
like,
know, it's like
it's like the new age hippies, but they're dumber because the weed is stronger.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's no big love movement going on, you know?
No.
I mean, just...
It's just, they get a lot of these cats in this age group, and I know it applies to other age groups too, but just really heavily contributing to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
They get high to the point where they're just along for the ride.
Right.
They're not sharp, they're not the leader of the group, they're not, you know,
they're
trying
not
to be...
thinking about tomorrow.
No.
You know?
And I think part of that is because nowadays, especially for people their age coming into manhood, intensity is considered like toxic and cringy.
Yes, it's definitely looked at as like bad, you know.
If you're gonna be like intense about something or fired up or whatever, it's like, man, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? Chill the fuck out.
Right.
Like it's considered, and that might play into the toxic masculinity thing we're gonna talk about.
People think of you as like negative or whatever, when that's not. I mean, it's a very healthy human emotion, you know.
In addition to the weed thing, and that was just the first thing that jumped out to me. There's a lot more to it.
Right.
There's the prescription drug thing, the lean thing. I mean, when you have a generation of people where the vast majority of them has come up on really strong, like, you know, just ridiculously powerful weed and weed products, and then prescription drugs and lean and shit like that.
Yeah, which is, you know, overly common now in that
It's just
age.
everybody's numbed out.
And stupid.
Yeah, and stupid. Like, seriously, I mean, you can define stupidity all you want, but what I think is if somebody is impaired to the point where they can't live up to
a very simple standard.
Yeah.
As far as like go to work every day.
Right.
You know.
Answer a simple question on the spot. Like say something clever. You know what I'm saying? Like be timely in a conversation. Right. You know
what a wrench looks like. I don't know.
You're talking about specific
Sorry,
people.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's this whole not giving a fuck thing.
Yeah.
And it's prideful. It's like, yeah, man, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care what the boss or coworker, anybody thinks about me. Like, it's almost considered to be
it's like a badge of honor in a way.
Yeah. And you're considered to be like the weak one if you do care.
Yeah, that's just
Which
weird.
is-
It goes back to reminding me of like school, like when, if you were like really proud about your straight A's, you were called like a nerd and stuff, and
It's like that.
oh, if I got an F, it's like, oh yeah, you're the coolest slacker, da da da. Like, dude,
This
come
thing
on,
hates me.
this is grown up adult life now.
Right.
You got the guy who's paying you.
You don't have to make a stand.
Paying you so you can then in turn pay your bills and stuff. You kind of gotta give a damn.
You don't
what
have to
you
totally
look
kiss
like in front of
ass,
him.
but
No, not at all. But at least show up and like have some pride in your work.
Act like a man.
Carry yourself a certain way. Like be respectful. And so then you can be respectable too. I don't know. It's pretty simple shit. Just keep going to work, get your money, but act like a grown person.
I mean, this plays into stuff further into this and deeper into it, but it's a nihilistic thing.
Yeah.
And, if any of these people are watching this, they might need to look that term up. But it's a nihilistic thing, like, whatever, nothing really matters anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And, you hear a lot of this stuff. Like, let's say it's a task at a job. You hear, like, oh, it don't matter, that shit will end up getting done by somebody anyway. Or that, it basically just downplaying everything. I understand that some generations of people, like maybe my generation, is a little too rigid in certain lines of work and stuff like that.
Right.
And a little too prideful, and maybe take some things a little too seriously. I know there's bigger problems in the world than, like, I don't know, the septic tank wire that I have to repair.
Right.
I get it, and I get it that we got all kinds of time to finish it, but I would like to finish it in an hour because I take pride in my work.
Yeah.
And I'd like to feel like, hey, I finished that in an hour.
And I got it done right.
Right. Maybe it's because I'm thinking, like, if my son was watching,
Mm-hmm.
I want to show what responsibility is about and, like, actually working for your money. Like, I don't feel good if I'm getting paid for doing nothing.
Yeah.
Some of these cats, like, that's what they're really trying to do.
Because it all sounds great in theory to get paid to do nothing, but, like, at the end of the day, especially the older you get, you kind of want to, like, be proud, especially if you have kids. Like, you really want to be able to say, like, yeah, I did this, and I got paid to do that.
And I got news for, like, 99% of you. You're not going to be millionaires, so you better get proud of the one thing that you are able to do that pays your bills.
Yes.
You got to have some pride because you're not going to have that other thing that you think you're going to have.
Right. And
that's a problem with it, too.
Fast money is going to continue to come if you're, doing something illegal or whatever. Like, that always comes to an end, too, so.
Here's an example of the difference in generations, and this is just one guy, but I've heard this from other people too, and I've seen, like, threads online of people asking what they would do. If you won $1 billion from that lotto that was recent, would you work again? What would you do?
Would I work again?
No, I mean just anyone, but what would you do
Oh.
if you won the $1 billion?
Yeah, but I would find something that I really, really, really liked to do.
Yeah.
And work in that field, because I feel like if I had that money, I'd have time to either enter into the schooling that I wanted to enter into that I couldn't afford before, or even money to just, get in with the people who might be able to get me in with whatever work I wanted to do, and do that, then work in that field, so it didn't feel like work, but I was still making money,
In other words, a passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's crazy is I know that anybody that age listening just now was like, yo, this bitch just said if she won $1 billion, she'd go to school.
Well,
You know how crazy that sounds to them? I always said if I was rich,
I would do a lot of other things too.
No, I know, but they would have heard that and been like,
yeah,
what
definitely.
the fuck? Like, actually, that's funny. One of the first, I think it was one of the first conversations we had, I actually told you that part of my dream was always to get wealthy enough and have the time to where I could just go, get a doctorate in this and in that. Like, I wanted to.
So you could kind of pick and choose what you wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. Just because I wanted to do it, not to make money off of it or anything. They would. I don't think most people in that age group would think something like that.
Oh no, man! I could tell you a million things that they'd probably say. You know, a bunch of them would be like, well, I would go to this festival and this festival and this festival, and I would travel the world forever and never
Yeah, it's always travel the world.
You know, like, yeah, I would do some traveling too, for sure.
What they don't understand is that specifically being a man, and it's funny that you had a manlier answer than any of these guys would probably have. We have to have purpose. And a lot of you guys have heard like Jordan Peterson and these guys talk about that, have meaning and purpose in your life. And, you know, no matter how much money you have, as a man, you're not going to feel fulfilled unless you are, you know, creating something or, you know, mastering something. You have to be chasing something more than just like nice scenery or women or whatever.
Right.
You have to have like a goal. You know, that involves work, but like you said, it's not work if it's something you love.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, I have my things I would like to do, and yeah, they would make a little bit of money, but that would not be the purpose whatsoever.
No, and I would know that, you know, I didn't have to have that job.
Right. You'd just be doing it because you love it.
So it's like if it ever came to
or
a
you'd
point
start your own company.
where I started to hate it or something, you know, I could leave if I wanted to. But if it was something that I really loved to do, you know, that would be like a dream come true to win $1 billion and be able to go, you know, invest enough money to go to school and get the degrees I want to get and, you
because
know,
it's
work
interesting
in the field. Yeah, then I wouldn't just be sitting here reading true crime books all the time, all right? I would be
You'd be doing it.
I would be the person investigating, all right?
Yeah, I mean, like me, I mean, people could probably picture that I would definitely write. I would definitely go further with the content creation thing and with the personal training, program creation thing. I would honestly probably work more.
Yeah.
Because I'd be able to be doing what I love to do. I'd do more music, too.
You do a lot of stuff. He'd probably, man, I can't get him to freaking sit still for hardly 5 minutes on his day off when he needs to relax.
That's
sometimes.
the testosterone.
So, like, he would just, yeah.
We're getting to that. I seriously think that's a part of it.
He can't relax, ever.
And whereas, like, you know, most people in this generation we're talking about would think I'm like a spaz because of that.
Right.
I think I'm like lame because, like, man, why can't this dude stay still?
He
like,
will after, you know, enough coaxing to just be like, it's alright.
I thought you were going to say enough coke. I was like, yo.
Coke?
Jeez,
I don't think he would sit still. No, I mean, just like enough, you know, like, hey, you can just, it's fine. Like, we don't have to go do something. Let's just stay in and just, you know, whatever. But yeah, you know, most of the time he's got to be doing something productive.
I have to feel like
he's not wasting time.
Exactly. I know that we don't have a lot of time here. The more I started like learning about history and all this kind of stuff, like I started realizing just, and even like religion and everything, how small of an amount of time each person is here.
Yes.
In the grand scheme.
Very small.
Like the amount of, like when you talk about a big change in a great civilization, usually it involves like a couple hundred years. Mm-hmm. And we think that there's something big going on over like a couple, it's just a different scale.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like my time is limited. You know, my life was too much of a struggle this far along. I got to make the rest of this time count. Mm-hmm. You know, but we'll get to some stuff like why they don't think that way. Well, here's kind of a funnier part, I guess. The third thing that I've noticed about some of these modern men that are entering the world of adults, they're out of shape. They have bitch tits. Like, they're smushy. A lot of times they're actually like, their body is like feminine to where they have big hips and, you know, and boobies.
Yeah, it's a little, it's not very appealing. You know, you can hide it a little bit with clothes and stuff, but like, yeah.
No, wear them tight like that.
And then people are like, oh, the dad bod and this and that. It's like, No.
You know? Buy the t-shirt, new dad bod. I'll probably link to that below if I remember to.
Yeah.
It's a part of the whole fitness thing that I do.
And it's like you gotta also be a dad, like, and be around your kids and stuff, like, a little bit to have the dad bod excuse. And even then, it's still not very appealing.
No, it's not, man. I mean, honestly, to be in shape, to look halfway decent, all you gotta do is dedicate about 40 minutes a day and not eat like shit. Yeah. Like, that's pretty much it. Don't tell me about genetics. You ain't a scientist. The only time I'll listen to somebody tell me about, like, how their genetics won't work for them being, like, I don't know, healthy BMI is if they're wearing a lab coat like then I'll be like, okay. But outside of that, okay, I want to see paperwork. I want to see receipts to say like, you will always be a fat fucking bitch, like on a piece of paper, like, and it's because of your family's bloodline.
Oh god.
Meanwhile, it's like you see the person's family, they're all jacked and they're just a fucking lazy bitch. But anyway, the out of shape bitch tits thing. Number one reason for, not number one, they're not in order, but the first thing I thought of was their lifestyle is not as physical. You know, it's eat in a hurry.
Yeah.
It's a lot of processed shit. All of that makes sense. But the problem is they won't fight it. You won't see most people this age unless they're involved in like powerlifting, bodybuilding, something like that, or a serious sport. You won't see them going out of their way to like prepare their lunches to bring to work. Like,
yeah.
you won't see them like in the gym, you know, going hard in the gym. You just don't see them fighting against it. They're kind of like, this is just the way it is. It's accepted. Chicks like it now anyway.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
like every winter, they're like, I need a fucking fat guy to cuddle with or whatever the fuck.
That's so weird. Oh god.
It's whatever. But
yeah.
then the next thing I thought kind of goes with that is that they're indulgent. Just like, we're going to go out and eat this. Like 4,000 calories.
And I'm going to take pictures of it.
Yeah, and then I'm going to get high and eat again.
Yep.
And then I'm going to take pictures of it. I'm gonna drink this. I'm gonna eat that, and it's just like an indulgent thing. It's like, it's fine. You're younger.
Waste all this money.
Yeah, exactly. You're young. Like, I did this shit. Like,
yeah,
when I was that
everybody
age,
does when they're a certain age. Yes, but
I went to nice restaurants like all the time. In between that, I ate like shit because I was like ripping and running and shit, you know. And I drank whiskey constantly. But I mean, me and my homeboy would like literally be sharing a gallon of whiskey and then go to the gym.
Yeah, it's so
drunk
crazy.
and fucking deadlift and shit like that, because it was like, nah, dude, I don't care how much I want to party. I don't care how much horrible food tastes good to me. I want to look halfway decent.
Right.
Too.
Even if I'm doing all this other extra shit.
So we did. You just worked out harder. You wouldn't have believed the diet and the habits I had in my early 20s when I looked my best. You would not fucking believe it. To this day, I'm just like, I don't know, man. A lot of science behind being fucking fit and jacked can't be right. Like, seriously, we would eat, like, you know, a couple hundred calories in a day, almost no protein, drink all kinds of alcohol, probably do a few lines, and not sleep to recover, you know, and just kill ourselves with, like, shitty form, heavy weights, everything else, and look amazing.
Oh, the good old days.
But I think that's just as a testosterone thing, and I didn't know it back then.
Right.
Like, it's taking a little bit of protein I got, and like, I don't know. But
well,
anyways,
your body changes as you get older. So,
yeah,
you
you
know.
stop, you know, making that. That's all. That's my other channel, so I get away from that.
Yeah.
You know, I also think it's like a thing, and this may play a little bit into the expectations and standards of the opposite sex. The thought process behind being out of shape, having bitch tits, looking like Rick Ross is the same thing Rick Ross would say, I got money, so fuck it.
Yeah.
Boss. Like,
yeah.
Like, I got money. Like, I'm just going to chill. I'm going to blow some weed. I'm going to fucking, you know, eat whatever. I'm going to sit here on my ass. If anybody raises their voice at me, I got a drum. I'll unload the drum on them without even, like, standing up, because fuck that.
Can't get up out of bed.
You got diabetes and fucking I don't know, man. Like it really is like, who cares what my body looks like and shit like that.
And that's a shame too, because it's like, all right, you know, none of y'all are have no Rick Ross money, okay?
No.
So
God,
like,
no.
you know, and I don't even.
I do.
I don't even excuse it.
Oh, that Rick. Never mind. The rapping Rick Ross.
Yeah.
The other one. No, actually, the other one's not broke either. He won a lawsuit against that.
He did. Yeah.
I think so.
I don't excuse this for, you know, celebrities either. I think it's fucking gross, you know. Sorry, Lizzo, you're disgusting.
Yeah.
But
unhealthy.
But yeah, you know, and call me a body shamer or whatever. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, it's gross. But yeah, none of y'all in this little group that we're talking about have money like that. So what the fuck?
Yeah, you don't have like
you don't have that kind of excuse you can use for that.
You might got some stacks or something, but you don't actually know what wealth is yet because you haven't had the priorities that you have to put the money to.
Right.
Like, you don't realize quite how much money it would cost.
What is it Jay-Z said where they're on the gram holding that money to their ear? We don't call that money over here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was Jay, wasn't it? Yeah, and he said some shit about, I'll stop with the Jay-Z lyrics, but but yeah, no, seriously, it's like you're basically saying, like, listen, you're saying I got money, fuck it, but it's not like you have long money. Like, you don't have long-term money, you don't have investment money, you don't have generational wealth. You have, like, if you take that chick on that trip that you're talking about taking, and, take an additional couple of weeks off before you come back to the streets, you're starting over again.
Yeah.
Money. You know, like Liver King, when he was on, I think it was Patrick Bet-David's thing, you realize that for him to do what he did that day, he's in Austin, Texas. He had to go, like, private jet.
Right.
He had to go get his crew from New York. I think maybe stay there or something today. Come back to Austin. Go to Cali, I think is where they went. Or maybe even just the other side of Texas. Don't remember. And then back for the private jet, the pilot, the fuel, giving good hotel rooms to all of his crew. Yeah, eating, supplies, all of that stuff that he needed for this one little trip for 2 days is close to $1 million. That's money. That's fat money.
Yeah,
like,
and look at him. He ain't fat.
No. He's on enough roids to look great. No, but I mean, I'm not even saying like that your physical appearance means so much. It just plays into a bunch of this.
It definitely.
And I understand being young and not giving a fuck about your health. But my generation, we at least tried a little. We felt like lazy bitches if we didn't do something.
Yeah, you might not have cared about your fucking health really, but like you wanted to at least look like you were,
Yeah, and you would never, like, and I know this says that we were, like, fake or something, but you would never admit you were weak. Like, it's too okay, it's too accepted for, like, if there's a conversation, like, say you got two of those younger guys that, like, lift or whatever, the third guy will be like, man, I don't do that shit, man. Fuck all that shit. I'm just trying to chill, whatever the fuck they say. In my day, we would say, like, man, I ain't been in the gym in a while. But I'm telling you, man, I could probably keep up with you. Like, I'm stronger than I look. Like, it was big for us to include ourselves.
Male pride.
Yeah, that's what it is. And it's a lot of time it's horseshit.
And
but
now people look down on that like it's this horrible thing. And it's like,
it's kind of corny.
Can be, but like, you should have at least a little bit of it.
Well, here's the next thing I was coming to, and I guess I'll combine these two. There's a feminization of that era of boys to men, whichever you want to call it.
It's the end of the road.
Yeah. And no, that doesn't work. Well, I mean, one day they'll be at a TRT clinic and be on bended knee.
Oh my god.
No, but there is an actual lack of testosterone. Like, actually.
Yeah.
Not just, there's a lower masculine hormones in these guys. And part of it, they say it's, never been seen before, that the levels could drop so drastically in such a short amount of time. And yeah, there's a lot of factors to it. They say it's maybe the first time that the culture has caused it drastically.
Right.
Maybe that's why it's so drastic. The body's never... I don't know.
It's
but
nuts.
It is lower than ever. And going along with that, maybe not as far as the science goes, but there's a feminization of males as far as how they talk, how they walk, how they dress,
how they carry themselves.
Yeah, everything.
Yes.
I mean, they're like regular ass dudes that don't have the money to pay their child support that month are getting pedicures, yo.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about
pedicures,
like all these dudes are, a sensitive guy or whatever. It's fine and dandy to be a little bit, sensitive.
It's cool to be metrosexual. It's like I do this shit, but
like, come on, man. I don't know. I don't even know
strange.
how to explain it. Like, if I were still like out in like the dating pool, like I would just...
You'd rather drown than
I would hang it the fuck up, and I mean like myself, because I couldn't like...
No, don't say that.
Wow.
Oh wait,
say
we're
what?
putting this on the free.
I didn't even say anything that anybody could pick up on.
You alluded
anyway.
to.
I didn't allude to anything.
Schmoo
You're
aside.
talking about it now.
You said schmoo aside.
I didn't say it.
You're alluding to it.
I was talking about putting myself on the shelf, like away. And, yeah, I couldn't, I don't know what the hell I don't know what I would do, dude. And I can't sit here and be like, oh, I'd become a lesbian because I hate that too. So I would just be.
Well, the feminization is done by the culture, and basically, men always intimidated and had supposedly unfair power over everything. So masculinity is toxic. So these guys are actually just trying to be, whether they know it or not,
what they think society wants
what they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it was a different standard, and what I'm getting at with this, and I'm not going to go this far into the point, even though maybe I'll revisit it another time, is that, okay, I understand why they're that way and they're going in that direction. I can kind of accept the reasons for that, and I don't fault them. But I think that it's not good for society as a whole.
It's not. That's not good for future generations at all.
That's what I mean.
Young boys growing up, like my son who's 8 years old. It scares me for him a lot. So.
Yeah, it's just they want their idealized man is very different from what, say, my generation or even yours wanted.
Yeah, and I don't want to see him go through life and be vilified if he's a masculine dude, and then have him think that's not okay or whatever. And it's there's a happy medium here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I told him last night that, or was it today, that when he was talking about the puberty thing, and I said your hormones and everything. Mm-hmm. I said it's not testosterone that makes you a man. It's how you handle the testosterone.
Yeah.
Because basically, this is the way I'm going to describe it to him further. It's like a power up in a video game, like when Mario eats a mushroom, or better yet, when he gets the star or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like you have this really powerful thing. What are you going to do with it? And honestly, maybe it's because we're evil, by default. And we have to work against that evil, but our first instinct is to do bad with it.
Right, yeah.
To hit someone, to make up for the pain that we had. We're going to bully this guy because we got bullied, or whatever the case is.
Right.
But realistically, if you channel, I think you'd agree that testosterone might be the most important thing within human beings. Because
it is, male and female.
Yeah, it's created most things.
Yes.
It's been a huge driving force, and people may not like the way that our culture worked and all of that kind of stuff, but you're a part of it, and it was very much created by the power of this hormone. Mm-hmm. And but with that being said, these guys are less sexual.
They are, yeah.
That was my fourth point, which is strange. It's an over-sexualized world, but it's corny to show interest in a female sexually. You're a cornball if
you're thirsty or whatever. I don't know.
And I mean, that testosterone thing plays into it, that there's less sex drive. And I know people are thinking oh, these people are fucking everybody and this, that, and the other. Well, come to find out though, women, statistically, only about 10% of guys are getting the women. Yeah. Basically. And women truly do have complete control and monopoly over this.
It's for the most part.
Yeah, it's they get mad that men are dogs, but more it's the men you choose are dogs, because when you narrow down what a woman looks for in a guy, these younger women, it represents less than 10% of men. Mm-hmm. Between their income, their height, body fat percentage, all of these things. And then if they have little particulars that they it lowers even more. Right. So you have 10% of guys are getting chosen by 100% of women, or whatever. You even say just 80%. So what does that tell you about those guys? If there's 8 times more women, that means that guy's probably sleeping with 8 times more women than the women are the men. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Smaller group of guys, huge group of women. Right. And another interesting thing is I want to say this goes into men's 30s or something. It's something between 30 and 40% of men are completely sexless. at all. Like, nothing. And I don't know if maybe some of these guys that are coming on the tail end of that, as far as their age is concerned, are kind of preparing themselves for that by not being overly sexual. And I just mean, like, I'll talk to a guy, and yeah, okay, they'll talk about I smashed this chick or did this or that. But a lot of times they'll be interested in a chick or kicking it with a chick, and they've practically been living with him for a couple of weeks, and they haven't slept with him, and it gets to the point where the girl basically asks, and I'm just like, weren't you supposed to try to do that the first day? And they're just very...
And you don't have to try to do it the first day, alright? But yeah, I get what you are saying.
You know what I mean?
That,
like,
but,
they just seem very disinterested.
It is weird, and coming from a woman's standpoint, okay, being like, say if I was like 10 years younger, even just a few years younger than I am now, and I was single, yeah, I don't know many women in the world that don't want the man to make the first move, okay? All the women can be like, oh, I got that power, baby, blah, blah, blah. That's fine, okay? But you want a man to be a man and make that first move, especially when it's the first time that you're going to be with somebody. You want the man to make the first move.
Yeah, don't
so
you?
It's like, if you're sleeping, if I had a dude that I'd been kicking it with for weeks, and, like, he'd been respectful the whole time, wasn't trying to, push it, whatever. That's awesome. I'd be happy about that. But after so many weeks go by, I would start to think something is really fucking wrong with me. Because this dude, like, doesn't even, whatever. And I would feel kind of weird. It would kind of create, like, an awkward thing, I think. Like, if there was never anything tried at all, and then if it got to the point where, like, I had to, like, ask, like, I would almost kind of feel bad.
Yeah,
like,
I just saw that happen.
I don't know. I might feel bad about myself or about him or just the whole.
That's the weird thing with this though, because I literally just saw this happen with somebody, and I was kind of like, so she was basically asking him, and we were kind of like, oh wow, look at that, like, you know what you're doing with this, like he
got her to ask.
Right, but the thing is it's like you want to give somebody props for being clever and having control in the situation.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really what he was doing. He just really didn't have the interest. Like, yeah, I'm gonna end up fucking or whatever. It's whatever. Like, there's no, like, drive for it. There's no, like...
So he doesn't even, like, really want this chick then.
That's not true either.
That's so weird, though. What do you mean?
It's just like whatever.
That doesn't make sense.
Like, we're gonna end up having sex. Like, I'm not
by any means like saying that like sex is up here and it's like everything or whatever. It's not, but at all.
But it's like you clearly want something. You're in a situation partly for that. It's there for you, and you're just like, whatever.
That's just weird. I would feel bad about myself. That would knock some self-confidence out of me.
I mean, it's not like some bagels or something. Like, it's not going to expire. It's still going to be there.
That would just, that's the type of attitude that
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like, I don't know. That's like that lazy...
Correct me if I'm wrong. If any of you cats are younger out there and say that you don't see this, but I see it in a lot of people, and I think it goes back to the showing interest is corny or thirsty or whatever, or simping. And, actually going for it with any form of,
being
alpha.
Aggressive, I guess.
Yeah, now it's toxic.
Yeah.
So it's like you're basically sitting there waiting for the chick and, make yourself feel better. You're like, hell yeah, that's what I wanted. But realistically, the little bit of testosterone you have, the 180 points of it or whatever are all kind of saying, like, go get this.
Yeah.
And the rest of you's like, nah, I'm
it's like
straight.
you don't have to, And I get where, like, our society kind of has put, like, a damper on that for young men and men of any age because of the whole, like, toxic masculinity. If you're too aggressive with it, like, you're a creeper and you're a raper and you're this, that, and yeah. So, yeah, I get, being nervous and afraid of coming off that way, but if you're not that way, then you're not really gonna come off that way. Like you just won't, especially if you've been having a chick around for a while and you guys are sleeping in the same bed and you're staying together and this, that, and the other. Like, just use your brain. you
right.
know, it's all right if she's gonna let you put her arm around you and shit. And that, I mean, come on, then you should be all right.
I mean, sometimes putting that effort in. That they feel like it gives women too much power, gives them a big head, because these girls are basically saying, all I have to offer is this. So then you bow down to the this.
Right.
And now it's just giving them more power in the situation.
Yeah,
you know
I
what
guess.
I mean? And another thing is I brought up earlier, and this may not be thought about immediately, but these guys may not always want to get involved sexually with these girls of the same age group because nowadays their performance is broadcasted.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like a chick will put all kinds of things on blast. They're afraid of that, being emasculated because they already are kind of emasculated just by society in general. And it's like they could just turn around and say like, "Yo, this guy was lame," or
Yeah, it's,
"Bah bah
that's a
bah."
viral TikTok video.
Yeah, and if the guy's not acts like not interested, whatever, she throws herself at him. You know, he saves face in that. Like, I didn't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah, I guess.
you know, so why go for it
There's
when
definitely two
she could
sides
just
of the
say
coin
he was fucking, you know, yeah. I mean, that's just a little point that I thought about that would actually be scary.
That could be something that runs through their mind.
And this generation doesn't want to have kids
Right.
or family, so you know,
fear of that.
there's a fear of that, and then there's also, you know, whether we wanted it to or not, there was a drive within my generation to procreate, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that's evolutionarily still inside these guys, it feels like maybe, I mean, honestly, it's not crazy that they block that somehow. They manage to, but I mean, it's probably in the back of your mind, like, look, I don't want to procreate like the last generation did. Too expensive, blah blah blah. Like
the world's fucked.
Yeah, the world's fucked up. So I mean, you know, so like that little 5% of me or something is being driven by evolution thousands of years ago wouldn't be present in this guy because I'd be setting that aside. So it's just another little piece. So, I mean, you got like the lower test, you got the coming off as needy or giving somebody a big head. You have the worry that they're going to put you on blast for either your performance or your approach or whatever. Mm-hmm. It'll be considered toxic if you're actually really sexual in your approach. I mean, and they've devalued it a lot. Yeah. So it's not like, hell yeah, I went and got this. It's like, dude, she's for the streets. We all got that.
Yeah, see, it's just like, you can't. There's like a whole, like, can't win or lose.
No.
Shit. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, hey, maybe that'll make people get back to, like, true love and shit. Because it's like, why do I want to just bang somebody? But they kind of don't believe in that either.
But I don't think that's a thing in this generation.
I mean, and we talk about this too. The girls are obsessed, even if they're like the boss bitch, blah blah blah. They always have one guy they're hung up on, and they threaten suicide, everything. And the guy usually doesn't have any of that shit that they say they require to be in a relationship. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have a car. He's definitely not a top 5% guy.
Yeah.
He's not in shape. He's not any of these fucking things. Mm-hmm. But they're always obsessed with that guy. So if you're another guy stepping into the picture, you're like, that's all I gotta do? Cool. Right. Like, fuck all that shit that she said when she got, like, interviewed on a podcast or something. Like, this is what a boss bitch like me needs. You know what she actually wants. So you just go ahead and be that. Who gives a fuck? Yeah. So that actually makes you kind of, like...
lower yourself down.
Yeah, you lower yourself down because that's what a chick wants. You know, that's what they get hung up on. It's almost never... And this may go back before this generation, but...
it definitely does.
It's usually the female is, like, hung up on the one guy that didn't match up to the other guys they had. Like, they had all these other guys on the outside. Everybody's like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, guys do it too. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying that makes you kind of like stop giving a fuck about how you come across or putting any effort in or any of that kind of shit. Because behind everything a man does, at least in my experience, it's always somewhat predicated on what a woman will think of it. Right. What women will think about it. It's always done partially with the goal of acquiring a woman or sex or whatever. It's always a big fucking thing.
Yeah, human nature.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's just not... I don't know.
It's like being eradicated out of their brains.
Yeah.
It is. It really is a societal thing that is damaging the fuck out of these dudes.
Yeah, and you know, that was another thing I was coming to that kind of goes along with society, I think. There's no code, like, I guess that's the best term to come up with for it. There's not a lot of integrity or drive. The stuff that you would, like, you know, if you think of, like, the almost, like, think of like World War II, like pinup girl era advertisements of like soldiers and shit like that.
Yeah.
Or like looking back, that kind of thing. These guys like had a code. They were in shape. They stood up straight. Like their stuff is in order. They're fucking strong, but they're not assholes. They're it was basically like masculinity if it was mastered is what they were kind of advertising men to be.
Yeah. Okay.
And almost none of them lives up to it.
No.
Let's be honest. And most of those are situational. Like they didn't even like plan on going to war and stuff. But kind of like with the mob thing, there was an ideal, and all of us men tried to reach it.
Yeah.
And it had to do with, you'd have a bond with other men. Pause. It was basically, partly, maybe like a lot of other things, the problem is this generation hasn't had a war. That's a whole saying that goes with a lot of other stuff.
Yeah,
but
we could get all into that.
All the biker gangs, everything, all this shit started up kind of based on guys being in the service together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like a camaraderie thing.
Yeah, so
even
there's
like football.
yeah, there was a bond with men. You don't really, with other men, you don't really see that as much anymore. Part of it is because just life is less socialized.
A lot of it is because of things like social media.
Right.
That's where you live instead of, which is what they want now with Meta and all that shit. That's where you live as opposed to like out in the real world having like a group meeting with the local hunters that hunt in your area or like whatever it is.
Yeah, and what's crazy about that is I hadn't even thought of this, but now you said that I pictured it. We're talking about testosterone and stuff like that. These guys aren't having interactions in a room full of testosterone and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, how they'll say, like, you walk into a room and you're like, oh, the testosterone's a little heavy in here, something like that. Like, people say shit like that.
It's an important thing to learn how to navigate, I think, for young men.
And what I mean by that is, the standoffishness that can be there, the jealousy, the possible. I'll say it like this. Jordan Peterson talks about this. This will make more sense. He says that women will cross the line when insulting each other and destroy each other's character.
Yes.
Far worse than men can ever do to each other, or far worse than a man can ever do to a woman. And the reason that you're able to do that, like psychologically destroy her character, kind of like the bullying shit we were just watching in It, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Some of the shit happened to you.
Oh,
The reason why is because women, girls, do not know what it's like to really get punched in the fucking mouth in retaliation for it. Yes, you can get beat up, but I'm talking about...
It's not nearly as common.
You can get beat within a half inch of your life, technically, for calling another man a name or crossing a certain line. So we have a bit of caution.
Yeah.
We hold back some of those words. And
women kill each other with their tongues as far as, like, with what they say and stuff. And
destroying somebody's reputation is way worse than giving a black eye.
Yeah, it hurts.
You know what I mean? Women go hard, dude. They destroy the social construct, like the relationships between a community. But anyways, what I mean by that is we know that the damage that can be done between men in that situation. But it's a different thing to read about it and talk about it online and to actually be finding yourself in situations where, yes, it's a community, but of course people are going to have differences of opinion.
Yeah, there might be a disagreement.
Yeah, and that testosterone in that situation, things can happen.
Yeah.
Which is actually a good thing. That's what I'm trying to get across. Like, there's less vindictiveness and stuff like that when people have to face things head on.
Yeah.
And I know I sound old school talking about like, scrap it out, and then people won't get murdered, but it doesn't necessarily mean actually put hands on each other, but face to face, state your business, he states his business, since, we know that there could be violence involved or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're careful with our words. A lot of times we come to a certain kind of agreement that honestly two women couldn't come to.
Yeah, well, now a lot of that men had, above women having it, now it's almost like an equal playing field where they act the same way as women because they're not in the same room with these other men. They're on a keyboard.
Yes.
So they attack the same way now that we would have always done.
Absolutely.
You
We
know?
try to destroy the reputation and character of other people.
Yeah, call them out on Facebook.
I'm sorry to say that's a feminine thing.
It is.
But
it absolutely is. Women are mean as fuck by nature.
People need to get past this thing where they say, like, not all women do that, or men also do that. It's like, listen, when you listen to, like, clinical psychologists who have studied the actions of people in different groups, like, down to where it's tens of thousands of people they followed and stuff like that, and the vast majority of forms of revenge by women are destroying your entire life, like financially, reputation.
I've had it done to me in ways, and I've absolutely been guilty of doing it, you know, to other women, for sure.
It's a bludgeoning.
Right, always was.
That's it.
Know,
like, it's just boom, over with. Like,
and then they'd be friends.
So, like, because of not the fear, but the respect of the danger that can be done, you know, we communicate differently. We have a certain code. It's like, hey, as a man, I respect that you could really hurt me. You respect that I could really hurt you. I respect that you are trying to, you know, with this deal or with just anything going on in your life right now, you are trying to show that you're a protector and a provider for your family. I'm going to let you keep that, whatever, persona, like,
right.
You know, but here's my end, what I need out of this deal. You know, that is what made the world go round. They want to talk about, like, patriarchy. If that's patriarchy, that's what's needed.
Well, yeah, and
it works.
That's not a bad part of it.
No, it's totally, like, blowing into some shit that it's not.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the no code, integrity, drive, the drive plays into it. I know that sounds like it's outside of it, but the code between men, the integrity to stand tall as a man, all that kind of stuff. Playing into that is that most of these guys, and, you know, you can blame the dads in these situations, whatever. I'm not getting into that part of it. I'm just giving reasons why these guys are different. They were overpowered by single moms.